Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome.
We have an extra visitor here today.
Hey, guys.
Jacob is with us.
Finally made it.
We're going to have the video focused on Jacob's expertise. He deals with polishing and brushing. If you want to skip straight to that portion, you can go to this timestamp here in the video. That's where everything will get started. Before we get into that, though, I have quite a few announcements I want to go over. I sent out a newsletter last night. It covers not only the Mark II diver, but also our future release. We have a field watch coming out, as well as some strap options that we're working on. If you did not receive that and you are signed up to our newsletter, please let me know. We had some issues with people signing up these last couple of weeks. I believe they're resolved, but if you want to be sure, if you didn't see it, and if it's not in your spam folder, reach out to me. We'll get that taken care of. So we have Jacob here this week. My dad, he will be flying out to Switzerland in 2 days.
2 days, yes.
2 days.
Yeah.
So our grandpa, mine and Jacob's grandpa, my dad's dad, he recently passed away the day before yesterday. And by some miracle, they lifted the quarantine restrictions in Switzerland. So my dad actually gets to go over for the funeral. So we're going to do this video now. So we'll have content for you guys while my dad's gone. The releases will still go forward as planned. In fact, it will be good because my dad will be over there to help Jeremy with assembly and things going forward. Mm-hmm. So, the topic of this video, Jacob.
Yes.
Jacob's finally here in a video. He's wanted to be in these for quite a while.
Josh is very stingy about who he lets in his videos.
I'm very protective. If you knew him better and my other brothers, you would understand why. So, before we get into what Jacob does, Jacob, he moved from Switzerland to the States, so unfortunately, he will be removed from the website.
Kind of hurts.
So, he'll be back, though. Right now, we have really big plans for in-house refinishing. Obviously, we can still get that done in Switzerland, but we have really big plans to start doing that here in the States, in-house by Jacob, not only for our own watches, but expanding beyond that. So, like I said, big plans. Hopefully we'll see something materialize there sometime next year. It'll all depend how that goes. So for this video, I wanted to cover how finishing goes, how it's done, some of the methods behind it, because it's not something, it's on its face pretty simplistic on how it's done, but I wanted to get into more of the info behind that. So Jacob, how long did you finish watches for in Switzerland?
For about 15 months, I think.
Okay. And what would you say, what brands did you work on?
So the majority of the pieces I did were bracelets for Rolex.
Okay. And is that picture of you in the Rolex thing, is that top secret, or can I put that in the video?
No, you can put that in the video.
Okay. If I can find it, I'll put it in the video. So when you're finishing a bracelet, is it done by a machine or is it done by hand?
Well, kind of depends. For a lot of ones that are mass produced, that is done, it's automated by a machine. But when it has different functions that need to be done, that is all by hand. So for what we did with the bracelets was we got them straight from the factory when they were manufactured, so the pieces looked awful. And there was a lot of things, a lot of steps that had to be done. So that was done in an assembly line by hand.
So what's the first step when you get a piece that's just right off the line, a machined steel piece?
You sand it to get all of the... it's just not a clean cut piece. A lot of them are stamped or other forms of manufacturing, and you need to sand it to get it's mostly level to prepare it for the rest.
So sand it, and then is the next step like on this piece, sanding it, and then would you say polish the whole thing?
Then it's polishing, yeah.
And
but
then brushing?
It's not a final polish. There's about 3 steps to polishing. So there's different brushes and, more importantly, different compounds that you use.
Okay.
That are either used for that are more abrasive to kind of take the material down or to buff it out.
Okay, and this is a question that my dad he's our moderator right now, making sure we don't step out of line on the things we're saying.
Stop me if I say anything.
So, I think the biggest question people will have is, you mentioned finishing for Rolex bracelets. Are the bracelets that are finished for Rolex, are they finished in a different manner than other bracelets that you worked on? From what most would consider, I don't know, lesser pieces.
Not necessarily, no. So if it is done if it's the same type of finishing that is asked for, then it is the same procedure that goes forth.
And the same quality, essentially?
Yes.
Okay. And when you're finishing a piece, about how long does it take to finish one piece? Like, let's say you have the bracelet and the case. What's the time frame from start to finish, from getting the unfinished metal, the stamps, to a finished product?
When doing the same procedures, you can do several in an hour.
Okay.
We would do anywhere from 200 to 400 a day.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. And what, maybe you will know this, what's the cost difference? So is the difference between good finishing and poor finishing, is it a price or a skill issue?
Price, skill, time, just how many steps do you want to go until you get the final product. Definitely Rolex, if you look at the finished polished line, if it needs to be flat, it is flat. Whereas on a cheap watch, if it should be flat, it just looks flat. It is not flat. So there's big differences in the details in polishing specifically, because that is done by people that really know how to hold steady, not just one piece, but hundreds or thousands of pieces, that they're always the same.
Is that, would you say, the most important factor? Uniformity across, like, let's say you do one bracelet, looks really good, and the next one, that you want them all to look exactly the same?
Yes. So the initial steps taken are the same, but there's also, you have to take care of the brush and everything needed for the material. And if that gets worn down, you get a different result. So there's a lot of upkeeping to get that same quality.
Okay. And just the watch, Dave, he actually mentioned this in a video. It was a video criticizing marketing practices. Is it essentially a really nice thing to be able to market our pieces are hand finished? Or is that pretty standard across the board?
If we look at our watches, no, it's not necessarily standard, but it depends what price range you're in and what the customer demands. I think in the micro brands that we are, the demands on quality are quite elevated compared to the normal market where brands put a lot of effort into marketing and not so much effort into quality details. So we are specifically pointing all of our dollars towards quality improvements, that we can have a product that is competitive with products in the market that are 3-4 times more expensive. And that is almost a must, otherwise the customer base is gonna drift away with time. So we definitely look out for these details in what we're doing and how we're presenting, and making sure that over the years we can maintain the product the way it needs to, the way you probably expect a high-end brand to be maintained.
Yeah, one of the most common comments we get is people are surprised by the finishing on our bracelets. because you have the chamfered edges here on the center links that are polished. And when you look at something like this, Jacob, as a consumer, I would look at this and think the hardest part to get right on this would be the polish. But is there more to it than that? What's the hardest when it comes to finishing? Where does someone who has a lot of skill versus just something off the assembly line, where's the differentiation? Is it the lines when the brushing meets the polish? Is it the quality of polish? You don't have waves in the polish. Where does the differentiation lie exactly?
Well, when you have a bracelet like this with the raised links, it makes it a bit tougher, but I would say that the overall assessment of it would be the quality of the polish as well as the lines. So masking it's fairly simple, but when you have raised links like that, it does complicate it a bit more. But a lot of times in polishing, you have either like this, it has kind of a sandy, kind of gritty finish if you don't do it right. So it needs to be clean and uniform. And also if you look at some brushing, it's not always straight and uniform. So it needs to be all together as if it were kind of just done all in one swoop.
And when you say masking, do you mean when you do the finishing, you cover the polished portions? So
yes.
those don't
get brushed.
Get brushed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before we close this out, is there anything else that we can let people know what elevates certain brushing above others?
Yes, overall, I think it needs to be understood. If we would have a brushing or a polishing wheel, every single person could achieve out of a sanded surface a polished surface. There's not much skill in order to do that. However, if you want skill to make sure that it looks nice and perfect from every single angle, that is very, very challenging to achieve. And a trained eye, after doing it for 6 months to 1 year, they learn more with their eyes what to look for. And that's something, if I look at what Jacob did, then doing the final brushing on a Rolex bracelet, if you can do 300-400 a day, and they, with a rate of over 98-99% they pass, that says something. Okay, that says something for the customer that requires perfection, as well as for the individual that knows how to deliver perfection. So just be mindful. That's how we look at everything while it's brushed, polished, or sandblasted for these surfaces.
Yeah, we have the bar set very high, and I'll say this on video. I don't know if I'd say it privately, but Jacob's very good at what he does. I mean, obviously, when we're looking at the watches overall, Rolex is the official gold standard when it comes to quality. So to have Jacob coming on board, like I said, hopefully next year, being able to take a watch that's beat up and do a video on the process it takes to have it looking new or better than new is something that's very enticing to me. So I'm very excited about that. But like my dad said, you'll be in very good hands, and we're really looking forward to the next step of bringing as much of our process in-house for you as the customers as we can. So that about covers everything. Jacob, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Jacob.
It's nice to finally see you guys.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him again in about a year. I have to stagger these out quite a bit. But like I said, if you didn't get the newsletter, please let me know. I'll be sending out another one likely next week with more details on our upcoming release. We're very excited about that, as well as more details on the Mark II, because as many of you know, we have yet to show off the dark brown variant. I know a lot of you are very excited about that. So it's going to be November is going to be a big month for us. Also, the Sport Watch Assembly will be happening very soon as well. Jeremy's very excited, and we're going to push that into, we're going to be doing the diver assembly and the field watch assembly shortly after that as well. So you can be involved in the whole process with us. But thank you for watching, and we will see you guys again next week.
Take care.
Yes.
All right, Jacob, your debut is complete.
Excellent. Even though you kind of fired me.
I can't have you on the website saying you do our brushing when you don't do our brushing.